Hi, welcome to City of Calabasas Teen Forum. I'm your host, Emily Ford. Teen Forum is an opportunity for teens like us to discuss relevant issues and talk about our opinions on them. Today, our topic is the laptops that LVUSD has provided. Our panelists include Matthew Anderson is a sophomore at CHS and he is in marching band and track. He's also doing computer science and loves computers and food. Michael Rubin is also a sophomore at CHS and he is in the theater program on comedy sports and in marching band as well. He loves his dog Maddie. Sophia Darji is also a sophomore at CHS and she is in AME and also on track. She has won many awards for one of her films at various film festivals. Again, our topic is the laptops LVUSD has provided, and let's start off with Matthew. What was your initial opinion of the laptops?
Well, when I first heard about the laptops, I got really excited. I thought, oh, this is my chance to get new stuff. I could really use this. It would really help my grades. But once I first received it and I looked at it, I'm like, oh, this isn't a very good one. I thought, it's going to break sometime during the year. And already like my trackpad isn't working and stuff. So I think personally, my opinion would be if the school is, or if the district is going to lend us new technology like this, they should at least try and invest in a better one that'll actually last.
What I don't love is that how the computers, like they're not like the greatest to be using because technology is better than what we are given. Also, as he said, how the trackpad isn't working. Like, also teachers had been saying how it's supposed to be helping us and how it's supposed to be getting better. But not only that, sometimes the computer slowed down a lot, and then a lot of the times we can't get online. And then if our books aren't with us, a lot of the times we're using our computers to rely as the books. Like as if in Spanish, we use the computers instead of our books.
Yeah, building off what Matthew said, I'm a student of Gen Tech, which basically is general technology, and we learn about how to fix the laptops and other software issues. But we get calls every single day for low battery, trackpad issues, slow computers, just a plethora of things. So maybe if they postponed giving us a laptop so they could add more money or do more fundraising so we could make a better investment for the laptops that we give our students.
Yeah, I know the funds were an issue, which is why they couldn't provide them for the juniors and seniors as well. So I think a lot more planning could have gone into that. And aside from like the planning, have teachers planned to use them during the year a lot, or does it seem like they're still relying on books and paper?
I know in a lot of my classes we're really using the laptops a lot, which is good. In, let's say, math, we're not using the laptops at all. So by then it's just like a waste of space in my backpack to be carrying all that, and it's not necessary at that time.
I know the cases are very bulky.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Like if I need it, I have 3 classes in one day usually, and sometimes I only use it for one, so I have to lug it around the other 2. Unless I put it in my locker, but then I'm afraid it'll overheat.
And I do see a lot of my teachers are basing a lot of the different assignments that they give us off the laptops and computers, and sometimes kids will have to go get it fixed, or there will be an issue, or they run out of battery or power, and then they either miss a portion of the assignment or they can't fully complete it, and then they have it for homework, and then they end up not doing it. So it's like kind of a whole hassle of issues almost that I assume could be avoided. However, I do like the idea of working with computers for schoolwork because I think that's the way that our society is moving in general. And also, just for the environment and different purposes like that, we don't want to be wasting as much paper as we usually do during a school year.
Yeah, which is what's good about that is that when we're using the computers, we don't use, for example, our computers, the books could be on it. So therefore, we wouldn't be needing the books and therefore saving paper and then making the world better one step at a time.
Yeah, and again, I know I only have one class where our book is there for us online. Like, I've only seen Spanish has really taken charge with that, but the other classes, like, I'm not even sure if they have a textbook for math or English.
Yeah.
Like that I've been told about.
That's the big issue, is that all our teachers are saying that well, eventually they'll be online. And I get that they're doing their best and they are doing a good job, but it's just, it seems like we're given this promise of a good thing, but we kind of have to struggle through this issue that seems a little bit unnecessary at the moment.
What I do remember is that in 8th grade, actually, we had been the students that were testing out the computers. And we had said that we liked the idea of them, but that they were a little annoying to use. And that's still the same opinion that I have. I like the idea of it, as we've been saying, but they're not, since I'm more comfortable with a different computer, I don't 100% know how to use that computer still. So.
Because I know they installed, I think, either Ubuntu or Linux on, but these computers, I did some research, they come initially with Windows, which I think could have been great. All the students could learn how to use those. They're huge in the coding world, which is where a lot of people's careers are going towards. But they changed it, and I'm not sure what you guys think of that software. So what are your thoughts?
I would absolutely love it if we stuck with the Windows software, because it is a very universal software. It's the most accepted software. Practically anyone or everyone knows it, especially if you're in an industry that uses computers frequently. And so just training us for that would definitely, be beneficial. And also it runs much faster, and a lot more programs are associated with Windows and not Ubuntu,
Which doesn't even have Word.
Yeah.
Same thing like that. I think sticking with the Windows would have really helped, especially in comp sci when we're learning about how to program stuff, how to work around the computer. I think it would be kind of more beneficial to work with operating system that we'd normally use in our everyday lives.
Also, I know there's some personalization we have to take an online test. You guys know about, that's due sometime in October. And so the online course isn't geared specifically towards us, it's geared towards computers in general, which I thought was kind of pointless and hard to understand.
Right.
So what were your thoughts?
Also, what's annoying about it is that the test itself takes a really long time. Yeah. Some people said it takes 4 hours, others said it takes 6, and it's just, I don't want to be spending so much time just taking this test on a computer that, as you said, doesn't even help me, but it helps them more, so.
I think a good solution to this might actually be allowing students to have the laptops, but not mandating it, because I know that a majority of students at our high school do have access to their own desktops and laptops. And I think that if they had the option of bringing those to school instead of using the school-provided ones, it might just ease the issue out a little bit, instead of everyone having to have the same exact laptop with the same exact issues.
Yeah, because a lot of the times we're going through problems like in science. When I'm using it, I'm not really understanding what to do, because, for example, if I had to use Word or Excel, I'd have to use something through Google, which maybe I'd not be 100% comfortable with, and then it would create other issues, and then the teachers need to go around class saying okay, now we have to do this. It's oh, I have a question. It's and then the teachers get a lot of questions because the students don't 100% know how to use the computers.
So students don't seem very prepared, or do most students come
I
prepared?
don't think it's about prepared. I think it's about our familiarity with this computer and how we're not used to it, and how the teachers are yeah, totally, let's just give you this pile of work even though you may not know how to use this computer.
Yeah, I know in Gen Tech we are trying to master the software so that we can help students and teachers with it, and just make it a more universally accepted, program in our school, even though it would make more sense to stick with one that everyone practically knows already.
What issues have you found, personally? I know you said your trackpad broke. Mm-hmm. I know that with mine, the screen bends. The screen actually bends.
Yeah, if you put it in your backpack for a while.
They're not.
Yeah. And we get calls every day for trackpads, if they need replacements, or just there's something internally or externally that's wrong with them. But trackpads seem to be, a pretty big issue.
I know a problem that I had gone through with the computer is that I was trying to move it and it wasn't moving. And then I kept trying, I'm oh, maybe, okay, guess not. And then you have to turn off the computer, and then it gets rid of what you were working on, then you have to reopen it, and then you have to hope that it was saved, and then if not, you have that issue.
But have they like allowed you to learn more? You know how we have more access to, I guess, more files online.
In history, what we're doing is that we're using the computers to help us with slides. So what we're doing is we're using Google Slides to start a PowerPoint, and to do that we have to find information from the internet versus just the book or versus our teacher talking, which helps us be independent and basically teaching ourselves, I guess, in some sort of way.
Yeah, so I think the computers are definitely something that we should keep, but like I said before, I think that it should be an option if to bring your own laptop or to get the school provided ones, because most laptops do work with each other, even if it's different operating system. If it's you're running off of OS or Windows, there's some similarities to them. And we're not doing a lot of things, at least not in any of my classes, where all of the computers need to be synced up at the exact same time. So I think it would be perfectly fine if some students are running off of different operating systems.
Yeah, because I know I used my Mac today in history when we had to make films, and I know that everyone was complaining and having trouble that they couldn't make the film because there wasn't any software provided, and so they had to do PowerPoint presentations on Prezi, which they couldn't understand because even that's complicated. So,
and especially if the computers are running slowly, it's hard to actually get a good visualization of what your presentation looks like.
Also, we have to also remember that little responsibility of charging it every night, which isn't a big problem to me, but also if students do forget, I believe I remember the teacher saying, make sure you don't have the computer and the charger near each other or something like that.
Yeah, like the case isn't built to have anything except the computer in it, except it's a military grade case supposedly. And I know that I've had issues with my case, like trying to open it.
Yeah, it's...
Yeah, and also like when you're doing work on it, is it different than having to write it down? Because I know there's like lots of studies in neuroscience saying that when you read something on a screen, it's like either less effective or harder to focus than if you're looking at it on a piece of paper and writing it down. Like,
I think that makes sense because let's say I am on a screen and I'm going to be like, ooh, that's a cool ad that's next to it, and then just completely getting distracted from the original work I'd been doing, and it's like, oh, what time is it? Oops. And then...
I definitely see how, like with muscle memory, if you're writing something down for, say, a study guide or vocabulary, it's going to stick in your mind more because of muscle memory. But it's also much more time effective if you're typing on a computer. So I think if teachers do want us to be handwriting everything to retain the information better, then we shouldn't have such an immense workload, because we get homework in every single class every single night. So it's just kind of like time management and things like that.
And to build off of what Sophia was saying, with the time management with the teachers, I can't, me personally, I can't write something down and listen to the teacher while she's giving a lecture and take notes. But I could definitely type while she's talking.
Mm-hmm. And plus, if you're writing something or typing it on a computer, then you have access from every single computer that you're using. If I'm assuming you're using Google Docs, right? So that's you can have access to it from a school computer, from your home computer, from a computer in the library. But if it's an actual, hard copy of a document, if you leave it at home, too bad kind of thing. But you can always access it if it's online.
What could be better about an actual paper document is that to some way it is a little bit more hands-on. Like you can do highlighting, and then you can underline things, and you can write some footnotes and be like, oh, this is basically what happened in this paragraph. Oh, I could use that in the essay or something. While as in the computers, yes, you can highlight, but you'd have to do like a bunch of different stuff, and you wouldn't easily be able to write other notes about it.
Especially with those computers, like highlighting and making notes is very hard on that software, but they're like, I know Windows, and especially Windows 10, there are better programs so that it makes it easier for students like us to, make notes on documents that are already pre-typed.
On Google Docs you can highlight, and I know there's an alternate software for PDF files built into Google Drive, but I feel like submitting work is a lot easier too.
Yeah,
like for Google Classroom.
Mm-hmm.
What's your
Definitely.
experience with that?
I love Google Classroom. I use it for almost all of my classes. I'm in the academy at our school as well, and all of my classes are linked through Google Classroom, and it's incredibly helpful. I personally don't like carrying around a ton of papers because, they get lost. Anything could happen if you, lend a piece of paper to someone and you accidentally, give them another piece of paper that you weren't meaning to. It could just create, more problems than you need. So I personally find Google Classroom super, super effective.
Yeah, because not only that, it makes it easier for the teachers.
Definitely.
Because they don't have to be dealing with all these students' papers because it's all just on one screen. That does help them out with that. So Google Classroom has helped me a lot.
What about you?
Completely aside from what they've said, I've never used Google Classroom. None of my teachers have implemented it into the course.
Which also could show how some teachers still just don't either love the ideas of the computers because he hasn't used it, and then making it maybe a waste for him. Maybe he does use it, I don't know.
What about sites like Edmodo?
Edmodo, I haven't used Edmodo this year. I used it, I believe, in 7th grade. I didn't hate it, but it wasn't amazing kind of thing. I feel like Google Classroom is a more effective tool. They're pretty similar.
I'm not extremely familiar with it, so.
I didn't love Edmodo when I had used it. I remember I did use it in 7th grade, and it wasn't something that I enjoyed so much. It wasn't bad. Like, I understand that it was trying to help students get them with class and to get
Can you guys
ahead of.
explain it a little bit more? Like about what Edmodo is versus what Google Classroom has?
What Edmodo does is it's a little bit more public to each student. So if I type something, everyone in the class would be able to see what I'd been talking about. Also, the teacher, again, this is similar with Google Classroom, they're able to type something, but it's mainly more public to other people.
With Google Classroom, it's basically like a virtual classroom that you have. Your teacher can make a post to the bulletin that everyone can see. There are public class comments unless the teacher decides to mute a select few students or all of the students. The teacher is able to upload attachments and files if there's different worksheets that they need to print out or simply just download. It's a plethora of different things that you can do. You can access students' emails and teachers' emails right from the classroom. It's a great tool, definitely a great tool.
So is Edmodo more like a Facebook for school, or?
Yeah. I like Google Classroom much more, I would say.
Have you guys used things like, Matthew, have you used turnitin.com?
I have.
Yes.
Do you guys think that's helpful, rather than having to turn things?
Yeah, turnitin.com basically is a website that checks for plagiarism. And I think it's very useful, more so to the teachers, because if a student is copying something, they know that they're copying something. But it's definitely a helpful tool to the teachers so that they can accurately grade a student's work. Sometimes, though, it gets a little bit tricky with turnitin.com because it pulls information from all different sources, even students' essays in another country. And if you have a similar sentence to theirs, it gives you 1% plagiarism, which is, a bit spotty, I guess. But overall, it's a very good tool for teachers.
Yeah, because that also happened to me. I was writing an essay and I was like, check plagiarism, and then it said, you plagiarized the 2 words when he, and I was like, those are my own words. And then it was like, you found this on answers.com, and I was like, no, I found this in my brain. So
most teachers say that it's they'll give full credit if it's 20% plagiarism or under, sometimes 15%. So little things like that don't really matter too much.
Like when you put in a direct quote from a book or from an outside source, it'll dock you down for that.
And then it's important that you have to say where the quote you found it from, so that the teacher can then be like, oh, okay, fine, you've cited your quote, so it's fair.
I know I've had issues because in AP Environmental Science, we have to submit everything, like the homework, the labs, and so the lab report is all data that other people have gotten. And so I remember I turned mine in last time and I have to get 50% plagiarism, and I got 47 because it said I plagiarized the name of the lab and then also all of my definitions and the names of the materials we used. And so there are some issues with it in what it highlights as the definition of common knowledge.
Yes.
Right.
When we have to print it out, the sizing and the fonting is different. So a teacher said you have to make it size 12 font. It's but Turnitin already has it size 16, and then that creates some problems, and then we have to try and find out how to fix that, but we don't know how.
I think maybe just printing directly from the original document that you use might be, a way to do it, but I know it's kind of hard because you've copy and pasted into Turnitin.com already, and then you have to go back to the original file, so it can just get kind of complicated, I guess.
I think it's a good idea on paper, but in actual practice,
Yeah.
it's a little iffy.
There just needs to be some more development in that.
Yeah.
Also with other things that need to be developed, like I know the school's Wi-Fi can be spotty.
Absolutely. I don't know if they need to set up more hotspots. That would be better since so many people, like every single person, connects to the school Wi-Fi,
And
it's
it slows everything down.
exactly. And it's not just their computers that they're connecting to; it's also their cell phones, and then it's the teachers' computers in the office, staff's computers. It's just a plethora of different things, and it just like you said, it gets clogged up.
I know the second that I logged into on the computers automatically connect to the LVOSD devices rather than LVOSD guest or the normal LVOSD for most students. And so I realized that from my computer or my phone, I can access any of the teachers' Apple TVs, their laptops or speakers. So I feel like that could be an issue, and they should probably think about adding a special network just for teachers, because that could be unsafe too.
Right.
Yeah.
For the sake of our privacy, the sake of the teacher's privacy and grading. And
Yeah, and then also with that Wi-Fi situation, sometimes like if the teacher like won't stop for this one student that's still not on it,
Exactly.
which also creates more problems of having this computer and relying so much on the technology. It's like you also have a book that you could be using instead, and books don't have Wi-Fi, so you just flip to the page that you have to get to. And then, so that's like a downside of the computer again.
But yeah, I definitely see that sometimes in my classes where, a teacher can't afford, if one or two students can't connect to the Wi-Fi, they can't afford the time to stop the entire class, make everybody wait, because that's unfair to, the students who are actually, whose laptops are actually working. But then it's also unfair to the other students who aren't getting the material as hands-on or as quickly as they normally would.
And then, by then, the teacher's, let's say, already talking about some information that could be important, but you're just so zoned into the computer and trying to get connected to that website that you have to get to, and by then you've missed so much important information from your teacher.
thank you so much for your input. That's all the time we have for today. And thank you so much for watching. If you have an idea or you want to watch old archived episodes, please visit our website, cityofcalabasas.com. And I'm your host, Emily Ford, and I will see you on the next episode of Teen Forum.